Hello everybody, what's going on? Hopefully your day is going well so far. Happy Valentine's Day, if you're watching the day that the video releases, or if you're watching maybe on a future Valentine's Day by coincidence. Be sure to spend lots of time with your loved ones because they are what makes life so great, that's what I always say. As for me, I'll be sitting here making Deltarune videos, so shout out to that. But straight to the chase today, the question is, what allows us to break Deltarune? And this was a topic that was brought to my attention in the comment section of the previous video, which was the Undying Dark World theory. And in the comments, there was kind of like an offshoot debate / discussion that appeared. It was prompted by commenters Agnes_2232 and GameJam230. Thanks a lot to those two people. Shout out to them. And to everybody else that commented and engaged with the video. I really loved reading all your comments and replying and interacting. I had a lot of fun with that, so thanks again. But there are two arguments here. Are that either the player has the intrinsic ability to break the game. Just like as the player, we are able to do that, right? Or that Noelle is the key through which we are able to break the game. So, like, we need to use Noelle in order to break the game. So that's kind of the crux of the argument, is which one of these things is true, right? So let's start with a baseline here of what is breaking the game, right? Because I've already used that term a lot. I'll go ahead and say that I'm primarily referring to the weird / Snowgrave routes, or route in Chapter 2. But to set a baseline, what is breaking the game? Well, let's start with this. Toby wants us to believe that we can't change the outcome of the story. So, he says himself that there's only one ending. It's in the Steam page, and then it's also in the game website. There's like a frequently asked questions area, and one of the questions is, how many endings are there? To which he responds, 1. So this is a question that, of course, people would ask, because you know, tobyfox made Undertale, the game where no one has to die, the game where your choices do matter, right? And people see a new tobyfox game, and they're like, well, Undertale had so many endings, I wonder how many Deltarune is going to have. I bet it's going to have so many more. It's going to be even more expansive on the topic of your choices mattering. Well, no. One ending. And the question after this is like, well, then what's the point? To which he responds, there's more important things than reaching the ending. So, people believe that maybe there's going to be like a message of like the journey is more important than the destination kind of deal. So, but yeah, he says that there's only one ending. So there's like a set course here, right, that Toby intends. And also a voice in the opening tells us that no one can choose who they are in this world. And then Susie says a few minutes later that our choices don't matter, right, straight up. So, and then also, major story beats remain unchanged despite the whole sparing and fighting system. It doesn't really matter what you choose to do, besides the fact that, like, if you don't kill people or fight people in Chapter 1, they overthrow King for you. Like, really, it hasn't mattered a whole lot yet. This is a contrast to Undertale, where fighting / killing versus acting and sparing really mattered a lot. Like, that was the whole point of the game, right? That changed the ending of the game drastically. There are so many different like things that Sans could say on the phone call, for example, even in the neutral route, that depended on who you chose to kill and spare. Even the most like normal enemies that seem like typical RPG monsters, that they were important, right? That's not seemingly the case here in Undertale, so that's certainly a contrast that Toby is intentionally setting up. However, the game is already questioning this notion that our choices don't matter, because Ralsei tells us that perhaps our choices do matter, right? Now, I'll note that he says, Chris, I believe that your choices are important too. So he's saying that their choices matter, Chris, the choices matter. Not to the player, and I think Ralsei, this is a whole different theory, but I think that Ralsei does know about the player and the Chris being, the player and the Chris being different entities, but he's saying exactly Chris here, that their choices matter, so there's something to be said about that. But either way, Rousey is already challenging that point, like just a few minutes after Susie says it, right? So that's certainly fascinating. And then Undertale tells us that it's kill or be killed, but proves that to be wrong. So Undertale sets up a similar, like, dark kind of, it's really a bummer kind of thing to say in the very beginning of the game, like Deltarune does. But then by the end of the game, we find out that we can, you know, not kill anybody and still achieve the good ending. I mean, not killing leads to the good ending, right? So the game proves itself wrong. Now, there is something to be said here that Flowey says this, and Rousey says the other thing, and they're definitely parallel characters, and it's potentially that it's possible that Rousey's just wrong. It's possible that Rousey is just wrong and that her choices actually don't matter. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here and say that at least he's challenging it, right? And then finally, the most obvious one, the most obvious way that the game questions the notion of our choices not mattering is through the weird/snowgrave route, in which we are able to drastically change the course of the game by using Noelle to defeat Darkners, to get stronger, to really get the game off the course, right? So what is breaking the game? Well, this is what I was saying just now, which is that the breaking the game is forcing the story to change in an unnatural way that feels unintentional. Like a 2010 creepypasta about, like, I don't know, I went to a garage sale and some old man gave me this free copy of Deltarune. It belonged to his grandson before he died, right? And then I booted up, and oh my goodness, Birdley died in my copy, and Noelle used this crazy new move on him that's not supposed to be in the game, and it was so terrifying, and oh my goodness. That's kind of how the weird route comes across. It feels like, this is genius, I'd say. It comes across as like Toby Fox didn't intentionally put it in the game, and we stumbled upon it by going out of our way to break the game and do things that make the game veer off. So that's what breaking the game really is making the game do things that feel unintentional, that feel like a glitch, like it's not supposed to happen, for example. And the weird route allows us to break the game by going out of our way to do unusual inputs like backtracking and saying weird dialogue options to Noelle, for example. We're able to go on a track of the game that feels like it shouldn't be in the game, like Toby didn't intentionally implement this part of the game. And I kind of lied about there not being any change in ending, because the outcome of Chapter 2 can be very different and very uncomfortable. So the whole hospital scene with Noelle, the entire final boss fight being different with Spamton in front of the fountain, you know, Birdley, just something happened to him, right? That was not supposed to happen normally. And there's also a pretty minor detail that's actually pretty major ultimately, I think, which is that if you go to the hospital, they have these this toy that's like little beads on a track. Perhaps you've seen it in real life. They also have it in Deltarune's universe as well. And typically the description for the item says, or the toy says that the beads march on, and like the beads are on a set track, that kind of thing. So like the beads are just kind of meandering, just kind of like just proceeding through life without much thought or control or choice, right? Well, if you do the weird route and check the hospital beads, one of the beads is torn off and it's not on the track anymore, and that bead is actually blue. So once again, I'm sorry, Birdley, but I'm pretty sure this is about you. This is about you, right? So this is really interesting because this implies that the weird route allows us to break off of that track, that kind of like predetermined way that the game is supposed to be, that Toby Fox has been leading us on to believe through his own words in a meta sense, and also just in the actual game itself. So the beads are actually pretty important with the kind of the symbolism and the parallel there. So that's how the weird route, that's why I believe that the weird route allows us to break the game. And I think that's something that most people would agree on, and that's kind of what it is, right? It is breaking the game. So, why are we able to break the game in Chapter 2? That's kind of the point of this video, right? Well, people believe that, well, I should say that the two main arguments, rather, as I previously said, are either Noelle allows us to break the game, or we as the player just already have that power just for being the player, right? So, option number 1 is Noelle Holiday. And we can use Noelle in the weird route of Chapter 2 to... we're able to like speak to her, and our voice is able to manipulate her into doing things that we wouldn't be able to do normally, like killing Darkners and getting more powerful, causing the game to break, as I talked about previously. And Noelle hears a voice that's not Chris's voice. It's not their voice, it's our voice, or the soul's voice, potentially, if you think that they're different entities. So she hears us talking to her, right? And we're able to use our voice to control her and kill Darkners, grow stronger, freeze Birdly, the whole Spamton fight at the end. It jacks things up big time. Like, this is not how the game is supposed to be, obviously. And it also, she changes as a person as well, right? We see her change in personality by the end of Chapter 2's weird route. So, furthermore on Noelle is that the Spamton sweepstakes sets her up as having a relationship to breaking games. She has like a bunch of blog posts in the Spamton sweepstakes that have different like URLs. You can go to them, and I think about 3 or so of them are about her finding glitches in games. So there's this one about Dragon Blazers, the game, the fictional game in universe of Deltarune, and she experiences a glitch in which she finds a door that's not present anywhere else in the game, kind of like the Mystery Man door in Undertale, for example. And it spooks her out a lot. She just does like a bunch of inputs and she happens to get back there again. She's really good at finding this door that's not supposed to be there. And there's also a few about the game Cat Petters 2, about her stumbling upon a bunch of weird glitches and that spook her, and she's really good at finding these glitches that break games. So the argument here is that Noelle, she's able to break games, and we're able to break Deltarune through her. This is a power that she has, right? And that these blog posts are evidence for that. And then also, there's an official sticker that clearly shows us manipulating or like scaring Noelle. I assume that she's probably responding to some action that Chris has taken here that she's not super thrilled about. Now, the fascinating part here is that she's not wearing her Dark World outfit. So either this is an interpretation of the hospital scene at the end of Chapter 2's weird route, or that this is from a future scene in which we further use Noelle and speak to her and do things that creep her out. And that's solid evidence for Noelle being the one that we're able to manipulate and use, because if it happens again, then the odds of it just being her is pretty solid, right? And this kind of suggests that it might happen again, right? To her. And then finally, this is more of a feeling thing and a more personal thing, but I think that it's more impactful if we are only able to, rather, manipulate Noelle, because she's like the super innocent, naive childhood best friend, and I think that just if we keep continuously like corrupting her and like abusing her, it feels so awful. It feels as bad as the Undertale genocide route. If it's just her, if we can do it to everybody, it feels less impactful. That's, once again, more of an opinion thing, a feeling thing, but that's further evidence for why I think this is potentially a good narrative take to the whole discussion. Option 2 is the player. So we as the player are able to break the game and force it to go down unintended routes. We don't need Noelle. We can use our voice to manipulate other characters like Toriel, Azure, or Undyne potentially. It's just we as the player can do this without Noelle. We can do it to anybody, right? And this means that Noelle's ability is not a sign that only she can break games. It's actually a parallel to the player, like us, being able to break Deltarune. Now, this is very compelling, because in Undertale, there's the whole parallel between Flowey, who goes out of his way to reset and save and load and experience everything he can in the game, even coming down to killing his friends, right? Because he's so bored and wants to try new things. That's a parallel to how video game players will milk every last drop of content out of a game instead of allowing it to marinate and like allowing the story and the themes and the message to resonate with them. sometimes they'll just keep playing and playing and playing to get every new experience. So that's a pretty cool parallel in Undertale, and I think that what the commenter was saying here was that Noelle's ability to break games, as we see in the blog, her ability to break games in her universe. If we kind of like step back one dimension into our universe, is kind of a parallel to our ability to break games in our universe. As the player, we're able to do what Noelle does to her games and break our game through Deltarune. And I find this argument to be very convincing, actually. I really do like the parallelism argument. But I'll go ahead and pose one last question then. With all that evidence being set up, which one do I believe? And I'm hesitant to give an answer to this because I don't want to take sides or, like make someone sad or upset that I didn't agree with them. So I'll go ahead and say this first. I'm very, very torn here, and both arguments are great. Thank you guys a lot again for commenting. I found it worth talking about because I made a whole video on it. So I think both sides are great, and I would compel you guys to keep discussing it in the comments below because I love interacting and hearing new takes. So be sure to tell me further evidence, perhaps, or further details that you want me to note, and I'll be sure to respond to them, and maybe I'll have my opinion swayed, right? But as for which one I believe, I'll have to go with the player here. I think that the parallelism argument is really, really solid, and I'll say that I'm really torn on this. This is a good little pie chart I made to show just how close it is. Because Noelle has a great case to be made as the sticker, for example, I think is pretty fascinating, pretty compelling. The fact that the Noelle, that the Holiday family is to Deltarune, what the Dreamer family is to Undertale, to me at least, like, I think that they're going to be, like, central to this game's story, and their dynamic is going to be very, very important. I think that it could be possible that we only are able to do it to Noelle because of how central she is to the story, but I can't get over just how clean the whole parallel game-breaking argument is, especially when compared to Undertale and Flowey. It made me feel like I really want that to be the direction that the game goes, and I think most people are expecting more weird routes in future chapters that don't have Noelle, because Chapter 3, she's not going to be there, right? But people are expecting, like, a Fire Grave route, for example, with Toriel, But I think that I just barely lean towards the player being the one. So, once again, I don't mean any offense by that. It's just my opinion, and I'm very open to being swayed. In fact, I challenge you to sway me, because I want to hear more great discussion and great arguments in the comments down below. So thanks again for that. And speaking of thanks for 100 subs, guys. I was not expecting to get 100 subs this fast. It's actually absurd. I'm so glad that I have a community of people that love this game and have a joy for this game, equal to, perhaps even more than I do. I love reading all of your comments, hundreds of comments. I wake up in the morning and I see a bunch of comments and I'm like, wow, I've gotten my people to come and watch this video. Because I'm making videos that I know that I would like to watch. I'm making the kind of videos that I know would appeal to me, both with the thumbnail and the art style, or I mean not really art style, but the whole like PowerPoint kind of thing, and just like I'm making things that I know that I would like to watch because I want to appeal to an audience that's like me, right? My people, and I seem to have found them. So thanks a lot again, guys. It's amazing, really. I will be sure to keep pushing forward towards 500,000 plus subs and keep making great content for you guys to interact with and engage with, because I've had a blast so far. And the final thanks for watching. If you liked the video, if you made it this far, you must like the video, right? Then be sure to drop a sub and like the video, right? And leave a comment down below if you have any future suggestions for video ideas, or if you have if you want to say, like, oh, Deltarune tomorrow, or any other kind of brain rot thing. I love seeing that too. That's always a lot of fun. If you want to engage with the discussion of the video, the whole player versus Noelle thing, I would love to also keep up that discussion as well. But with that in mind, guys, I love you guys. Have a great day. Be safe. Be smart. Don't be stupid. And I will see you next time.